Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus. We're broadcasting this program remotely again in compliance with the health protocols so you can meet the people who are looking ahead to Hawaii's future post-pandemic. Thank you for tuning in to Island Focus. I'm here today on Island Focus with Rear Admiral Pete Gumataotao, who is the director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. Aloha, Pete. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Aloha, Lyla, and thank you for having me.
Can you share with us briefly what happens there, and also how do you play into the future of Hawaii?
Thank you for that question. And I would say before you start thinking about what the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies does, what we do, it's important that we talk about why we do it. And I have to go back over 25 years, Lyla, when the late Senator Daniel K. Inouye had this vision. Talking with other leaders here in Hawaii and back in DC, Senator Inouye said, hey, what if we established a center here in Hawaii? He saw the vision of Hawaii and its role in the future, that we can bring leaders that's out in the region and here together, both civilian and military. Beyond that, the private industry, et cetera, to come together to do what? Well, they're very, very seasoned, they're very experienced. So to chat about common interests, not the things that separate us, but the things that bind us, to build an understanding of this very complex world we live in. And we see it even getting more and more complex. And what do you do with that? Take that shared understanding, take that network relationship he was seeing, and he says, let's get to mutual solutions. And so I'd be very, very happy to tell you that after 25 years of doing that, I believe that the DKI APCSS is living up to the vision of what Senator Inouye has looked to do. And I'm just very proud that I'm here with you to kind of share this with the people of Hawaii, because this center, this institution, even as an Office of Secretary of Defense institution, it's a regional center. It's here in Oʻahu. And you should all be very proud of the fact that it's here. And it's building that relationships and understanding to get to mutual outcomes.
And what I appreciate so much about what you're saying is that every decision really needs to start with why. And every organization, if they know their why, is definitely going to be able to fulfill what's important for Hawaii. You know, having worked for Senator Inouye when I was in college in DC, I learned to listen. I know that was one of his hallmarks. Is that what happens in your center?
It's almost like you're reading my mind when you think about what we do there. So we have folks that come, and I talk to you about the diversity from over 45 countries. And I would say it's not even just reserved to the Indo-Pacific, but around the world they come. In fact, even today as I speak, we have over 210 participants, both civilian and military, that goes around the world, that covers, to be honest, all the sub-regions of Indo-Pacific that are up on the net with us, some virtual, some in person. And they're talking and they're listening to each other. And I remember sitting in a seminar session just yesterday, and I heard somebody say, you know, I'm looking at India from a different perspective now, based on what the participant from New Delhi was telling them. This kind of construct can only work if you are transparent, respectful, inclusive, and then you have this environment where, like Chatham House rules, but we call it non-attribution, that whatever you say and share with each other cannot be printed or cannot be referenced to that individual or the country without the express permission of those individuals. They're talking about common interest items, and they're professionals. So this is not an academic institution where you go, well, philosophically, whatever. They got their oars in the water on the same issue, and they are so appreciative that somebody else understands. They go, yeah, have you tried this? Have you looked at it on this? Or this is my perspective on that.
I'd like you to also share a final message with our audience. But what I really hear you saying is how important trust is.
The one thing I would offer you is in this 21st century, where we have emerging technologies, rapid information flow, instant communication, technology and none of that will solve issues. It has to be people. And to the people of Hawaii, you're part of that. We're a part of that. And what I mean is that seek solutions, not by yourself, but with others, and challenge your biasness, your confirmation bias. And if it makes you uncomfortable, don't be afraid of it. Ask people why. Why do you feel that way? Because ultimately, it's relationships that really respect each other and are transparent and are inclusive that leads to trust, Lyla. And only with trust can you have enduring solutions that happen out there. You know, people leave our center transformed in the idea that I'm not alone. We can collectively work to solve this. They go back and help write their national policy, write their training programs, invest in including women into the conversation, because we're strong advocates of women in peace and security. And that vision, I go back to Senator Inouye. He was such an awesome statesman. He was such a humble person, but he saw the value of relationships. So I really am so proud that APCSS carries the name of Daniel K. Inouye, and because he was such a great person and a great leader.
Thank you so much for joining us, Pete, and for giving us the hope that who we are in Hawaii, that's the future for the world. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Lyla. And you're welcome to come down anytime to the center.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Rear Admiral Pete Gumataotao, who is the director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. On Island Focus today, I'm with Celeste Pacelli, who is the Center Manager for USO Honolulu. Thank you for joining us, Celeste.
Hi, Lyla. Thank you so much for having me.
You have a big job over there, especially with Hawaii being locked down and now opening up. Share with us a little bit about what the center does and what do you envision its role in the future?
So we're a lounge in the airport focused on welcoming in active duty military, either traveling to Hawaii, being stationed in Hawaii. And our goal is to make them feel at home, give them the first taste of Hawaii and the aloha spirit so they can be ready to spend 3 wonderful years in Hawaii. We're open to active duty military of all branches. Our volunteers are a mix of local people, retirees, active duty that are stationed here, and they're just full of knowledge of Hawaii and are excited to share with all the newcomers.
And it would seem that you really have a very significant role welcoming people, but also saying goodbye.
Yes, that's very true. A lot of folks go on deployment from here, and we see families come here to spend their last moments with their family before they go out. We get recruits that are going from the neighbor islands that are joining the military, and their families will come here and spend time with them before they go to boot camp. And we see a lot of transitioning in and out all the time here.
What do you envision is the future for the USO? You know, we're looking at regenerating our economy, transforming our economy. Military will always have a presence in Hawaii. What do you envision?
Well, we just renovated our center to encourage people to come to the USO if they haven't been here before. And we speak about the other USOs around the island and the programs that we do that help educate them about Hawaii and what there is to do. We look forward to bringing in more people as the tourism is opening. Their families can now come, their friends can come, their extended family, and we all look forward to meeting them and welcoming them into our center and sharing with them our knowledge of Hawaii and encouraging them to get out and go see Hawaii and take in all it has to offer.
How does your center relate with the other centers?
So our center here, we see everybody of all branches, because we're the first landing point for all military in Hawaii. We do a program at Schofield Barracks called Snack and Talk Story. So where families were invited with their young children, with their teenage children, to enjoy some local snacks that we bought from local vendors and just talk about what they enjoy in Hawaii, share their knowledge amongst others. So we all have programs at all of our other locations geared to helping families just be part of the community.
And do you have a story or an example of something that was really heartwarming for you, that a family, a military family, really understood or got a sense of what Hawaii is about and appreciated Hawaii?
They're moving from, sometimes they move in from overseas, and we had one come in, a mother with 5 little children, and they had been traveling all day, and they had prepped themselves. They all had matching aloha shirts, and it was really lovely, but she was high stress, and she didn't know what to do. Her husband didn't know where to get the pets and the cars, and we welcomed them in with open arms, gave the children all a drink, all a snack. A volunteer distracted them. We talked to the mom. The husband went to pick up the cats. We told them how to get to the rental car place. Once they realized that we are a welcoming team and everyone in Hawaii is like that, they were good to go. Their stress melted away and they were just happy to be here again.
Yeah, and I really appreciate hearing that it's more than information, it's more than preparation. It feels like you have a happy place there.
We do, and we're not only with our volunteers and sharing our knowledge, we have relationships with the other community. Once people get settled and learn about the USO, we have days at Wet and Wild or days at the Polynesian Cultural Center. They get a taste of local cookies when they're in here, and so we really, really make them feel at home while they're here.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your experiences, but also sharing the vision that you have of the place that USO can have in the lives of people here in Hawaii. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
We just spoke with Celeste Pacelli, who is the Center Manager for USO Honolulu. Today on Island Focus, you will meet Sherry Kajiwara, who is the Special Projects Manager with the Safe Travels Program. So nice to see you again, Sherry. Please share with us what you're doing now and what your responsibilities are.
Aloha, Lyla. Thank you for having me on. I am here to share with you and your viewers about the Hawaii Safe Travels Program. So my job is to coordinate the efforts of the Safe Travels Program to ensure that our visitors and our returning residents travel in a safe manner. Because Lyla, as you know, we all want to support our businesses. We want to open our economy. We want our residents to get back to some kind of normal life. But we recognize we have to do that in a safe manner. So Safe Travels was developed as a program to try to address both of those concerns. And that's what we're here to discuss today.
So share with us a little bit more about what that might look like in the future going forward, because we can find out information what it is now. How do you envision this program or this initiative helping us in the future?
Well, Lyla, as I mentioned to you earlier, I started with this just last month. And I have to say that it is an excellent program because since January to date, we had about 635,000 visitors come to the state. And of that, Lyla, 90% were compliant with the existing rules of the program, which I think shows that it is successful. The problem is that 10% that is not able to meet those needs. So and my job is to assess why they're not meeting the needs. Are we not doing a good job to get the word out? That's part of the problem. Are we not telling people exactly why these initiatives are necessary? I think that's another part of the problem. Lyla, what I do want to share with you is of the 10%, that don't meet the qualifications. And as you know, currently, anyone coming into the state needs to quarantine for 10 days to be sure that you are free of any virus. The only way to get out of that is to have a negative test prior to boarding your flight to Hawaii. Now, I noticed, Lyla, those 10% of travelers, the majority of them are our local residents. For some reason, they opt to quarantine rather than take this option to test and come in and be free. So one of my concerns is, are our residents getting the message? Whatever that message may be for that time, we need to do a better job of letting our residents know what's required. The other part is making sure residents understand why it's necessary. So maybe you don't want to take the test, you don't want to spend the money, but you have to realize that you're putting your family, you're putting your neighbors, your coworkers, your friends at risk by possibly bringing something home with you that you picked up during your travels.
And I think part of that challenge is not just the scientific information and the specific protocols, but also talking to the person's heart, and having them see that we really do care about them personally. I think sometimes the community feels a little bit like they are pawns in a game.
That's very true. And as I stepped into this role, I see that I kind of understand why our local residents don't choose to test. And I talk to many, many people, and I understand their perspective. But what we want them to see is that it's for their protection, it's for their family and their friends and everyone they come in contact with. It's for that protection. So I would say, even if you choose not to test for the purpose of returning and you choose to quarantine, I would highly recommend that you test on your own, just so that you know that you are safe and that your family and your friends are safe as well. Because you're right, Lyla, we do have to make sure we're meeting the needs of the people and not the needs of government, right?
I appreciate you sharing that of that 10% who are not in compliance, that many of them are us, in the community, because I think there is some animosity, if we will, assuming that people who come here who are not respectful of us are visitors.
Yes, but Lyla, a lot of the people that are coming are complying with our rules. And I think we know well, there's been much talk that the spread of the virus is through community spread, not through our visitors. So that also points to the need for our people here on the island to take care of each other, to take care of themselves, because we control that. We're the only ones that can control that. And all we do is we get guidance, but it's how well we follow that guidance that's going to make all the difference. And I think that is one of the messages that we want people to know. Safe travels is a method to protect our island, but it's only as good as people embrace.
Well, and it will be interesting, because this period of time will pass. And it will be interesting if the Safe Travel program continues in the future.
I believe that safe travels will continue on as long as there is a health need. There are lots of questions right now, whether the variants will play a role, how effective the vaccine will be in travel-related issues or decisions. And we don't have answers to those questions right now. So I can't really say that Safe Travels has an end date. I think it's going to go on as long as there is a health need that needs to be addressed. The program will evolve as we go along. And that's one thing I saw as I came on board. It evolves every day as we learn more things, as we apply new laws and rules, as we make change for the better.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Sherry. You've helped to clarify some of our concerns, and best wishes to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyla.
You've just had the opportunity to meet Sherry Kajiwara, who is the Special Projects Manager with the Safe Travels Program. With us today on Island Focus, I have the pleasure of meeting Ron Hahn, who is the Director of the Office of Veteran Services. We really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us, Ron, today. Would you tell us a little bit more about your office and how do you tie into the future of Hawaii?
Well, thank you so much, Lyla, for having us. We really appreciate it. So the State Office of Veteran Services comes under the State Department of Defense. We're one of the 6 major divisions. You know, most folks are familiar with emergency management, Homeland Security, Army and Air National Guard, Youth Challenge Academy. Then there's the State Office of Veteran Services. So we provide disability claims support to transitioning veterans, those who have not yet filed through the Veterans Affairs, or we call VA. And then we help operate in a partnership with the respective counties, the 8 state veteran cemeteries. So it's kind of like a cradle to grave. When folks leave the service, they join us. We help them find nexuses for their disability claims, and then all the way up to the end of life. Now, for the future, I'm glad you asked that question. You know, we see a lot of things happening with our veterans. You know, this pandemic has really put us in a really interesting role with a lot of telecounseling. Honestly speaking, this is probably going to be one of our banner years. We're able to actually do this outreach virtually. Most of it's through phones, through emails, and so forth, to reach out to our veterans. And probably this year alone, 25-30% more contacts, more disability claims filed than we've ever done before if we were doing face-to-face. It does not replace face-to-face, but certainly it's great. And we see telemedicine working in that environment of being able to provide outreach services that will really connect and link with the veterans, no matter where they may be in the state.
So when you say a banner year, it's about providing services. And I get that services have not only increased, so that means the veterans are finding you, but that your outreach also involves the community.
That's a great point you bring up. You know, there's purportedly about 117,000 veterans in the state of Hawaii. Purportedly, we also have about 1.2, 1.3 million residents that live in Hawaii. We got fact checked by a prominent media source. And 1 out of every 10 resident is a veteran. And so we see the need to be able to connect more veterans with the services that provide. Now, overall, out of that 117, there's probably about 46 or 47,000 veterans that are actually getting a VA or Veterans Affairs connected service support or treatment. We really want to get that number up a lot higher. You know, if the veterans are willing and they're willing to work with us and other veteran service organizations that provide this type of service, there's probably no better time right now. You know, a lot of things that happened 10 years ago have completely changed today. And there are new rules of engagement. There are new presumptive ailments that are being recognized, and just so much focus on our veterans who've done so much and sacrificed so much for our nation.
Well, and especially you talk about the issues like housing.
Homeless program from 2015 to current, when it did the point-in-time counts, just for veteran-centric issues, have decreased for about 24-25%. You know, and that says a lot. And majority of that 25%, I think 356 is the number now we're tracking for homeless veterans. 60% of those are sheltered. That means they're getting connected with services and they're getting to the next level. We always try to go with that housing first, you know, model, and then try to get them with wraparound services, working with the partners of care, the community of care organizations, private nonprofits, the VA, and any of the other folks that are out there that can help that veteran get back on track.
And when we speak about veterans, or we refer to veterans, they are people who grew up here, who live here. Are other veterans also coming from the continent?
Here's an interesting thing to note. When I mentioned that 117,000, 118,000 veterans, does not include the active duty military members that are here. And all those active duty military members that are going to be future veterans, as well as the 6,000 Guard and Reserve members, who are also with their deployment history to combat and other activities, are also deemed veterans. So we do see a lot more activity, a lot more opportunities and potential for us to do outreach and to do sessions like these and other things to bring more veterans to find out what their requirements are. And it's always invariably the case that one veteran will always say to another, you know, take care of that other veteran. They need it more than I do. Well, there's enough for every veteran, you know, if they just give them the opportunity. And there's no two veterans alike. You know, their requirements are completely different based on their career history or the things that they've done while they were in the service.
And as we wrap up our conversation for today, when we talk about needs, it's educational as well as medical, as well as housing. It's the holistic, I guess, well-being of the veteran that you're concerned with.
Right. And, you know, veterans today have a lot of things that they have afforded to them. The post-9/11 GI Bill, my dad was on the GI Bill when he came out of the Vietnam era. got his degree, when did some teaching, like many other veterans, they rose to prominent status and doing other related things. So today, the post 9/11 GI Bill enhanced, because now they can pass that on to their loved ones and their dependents. And many folks take advantage of that throughout all of the colleges that are accredited, and especially here in Hawaii as well. And, I'm biased, but a lot of folks are. You hire a veteran, you're going to get one of the best, on time folks that are out there that to go do things. They're disciplined. They want to do well. They're just ingrained to be able to provide that kind of outlook on things. And so you can't go wrong with a veteran who really wants to get out there and do some work.
Thank you so much for joining us and for
You're welcome, Lyla.
more and helping us understand that the veterans are part of our community as we are part of your community as well.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Lyla, and we really appreciate what you're doing to support our veterans and their family members.
You've just heard from Ron Hahn, who is the Director of the Office of Veteran Services. Thank you for being with us today on Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. On behalf of the Island Focus crew and the entire team at Ōlelo Community Media, aloha and malama pono. Let's be kind to each other and continue to work for the well-being of Hawaii. See you soon.